Dad jokes and bad puns. That's how I roll. EYE space ROLL. I love it. I love it.
The family bought that for me. So
after your Mexican restaurant incident?
That's it. That's it. That's it. That is it. Let me.
That's funny, man.
Oh, what the fuck?
Hey,
Where is that?
Mr. I was going to tell Mr. Muccioli that garbled mess I posted into the comments was a book list for you. It's pretty heavy American. Oh, look at you digging again.
That's the tamper. Tamping the dirt.
Is that your wife?
That's my daughter.
Oh, sorry. It's like, she's staying in shape, man.
Dude, I'm telling you. Now, how do I get this off the screen? Hold on. Remove. All right, there we go.
There you go.
That was my weekend.
Yeah, so you feeling it in your neck right now?
Oh, everywhere, dude. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. We're getting there, though. Getting close. That's an extensive fucking list you sent to him, man.
Yeah, well, of course, it got all mixed in, but, I'll just run through it. The first one, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, is really interesting because it's someone who's in a concentration camp and how, despite the direst of circumstances, how, a little crust of bread maybe in a week, made all the difference in generating a positive mental attitude. So, very
nice.
Obviously sad book, but, overcoming it with human spirit is super cool. The second one is C.S. Lewis, Life of a Cell. Read that because when you look at the cell, it basically talks a lot about the thanks, Euphoric. When you look, he's commenting on my shirt. When you look at the cellular level and all the bacteria that's in the cell, it's like, we're like 80% bacteria, not even, human. So, when you think about gut and intuition and things like that, where does that come from? I've always kind of believed it's, something at that bacterial level where they're communicating maybe.
Right.
But the interesting thing too, when you look at it and then you compare it to say Webb telescope photos, and you see that the smaller you go, the bigger it looks. And so it kind of makes you think about that circular thing where the more you drill down into subatomic particles, it's like, you could be looking at a galaxy or a universe or something from another direction. So fascinating book to give you perspective. The third one was, I added this late, Booker T. Washington's autobiography. Again, another person trapped in a real bad situation and how they worked their way out of it at the detail level of grinding. So excellent book to read. Then Studs Terkel, I don't know how many of you guys know about him, but he was a podcaster basically, but radio. He did long form interviews, 1 hour on Chicago radio station for years. Brad, he'd be somebody that you would probably really like based upon, the long form stuff you do over on Mission DeFi. But he also wrote a lot of books, and there are common themes about the working man and also a good one on World War II. I think that was called The Good War. And then I was digging this up, but I read this, the other one, I think it was Working, but it's all these little stories about different people and their jobs. And a lot of times it's different people in the same organization, their perspective and how they get motivated. Again, grinding, people working hard and diligent and, like Horatio Alger kind of esque, but, coming out of it to some level of success. And then, of course, Somerset Maugham, Razor's Edge, World War I or post-World War I story. The Hemingway stuff, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Spanish Civil War, great literary pieces. F. Scott Fitzgerald, Tender as a Night, I think is one of the best books I've ever read. And then we'll get into the British ones. Flashman. This is all Victorian. Sean will love this, Victorian boys literature, but just hysterical stories. And I mean, of course, now it would be put into a much different context because it is, they're out there in the empire doing things. And then the next one is Bertie Wooster, which is P.G. Wodehouse. There's 100 of those. They're just funny stories to read. And then the last one was Sidney Riley, Ace of Spies, which I don't know how many people know about him, but he was brokering ship deals between, say, I think the Prussians and the Russians, but he was spying for the English, and then he was collecting finder's fees from the Russians at the same time. Just a really, really interesting book. Came from Odessa, Ukrainian Jewish chap, but an excellent book to read. So, that's the list for Mr. Muccioli. Anybody else? And, we'll see where it goes
book
from
club.
there.
We'll start Joe's book club. I love it, dude.
But I apologize. It's very American-centric and UK-centric. I have other things out there, too, South American literature, but it's a little harder to read. It's mostly in Spanish, and the translations, like, 100 Days of Solitude or whatever, that doesn't really, it's hard to read the first time. So start with those, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Alma. Appreciate that. And you're welcome.
Niblet says, great Riley Ace of Spies show starring Sam Neill.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Huh. I'll have to check that one out. But yeah, I just had promised Mr. Muccioli those for a while, and Trading in the Zone. There you go.
Good book.
Yeah.
That's a good book, man. Niblet says it was the inspiration for James Bond.
Yep.
That's cool.
That's right.
That's cool. I saw there's something else I did this weekend, Joe.
Besides digging the yard?
Yeah.
Or putting in the fire pit?
Yeah. Trying to clean up the fucking mess that StreamYard made of our interview with Charlie Shrem. I spent several hours on it, but I thought maybe we'd play it here for everyone. But just know that there was the first part of the interview, the sound was fine. And then halfway through, StreamYard added a ton of static noise all the way through it. So I've run it through a few cleaners, done some manual edits. It's about the best I think I'm going to get it without being a professional. But I thought it'd be good for everybody to hear it. Just know that the sounds a little distorted from the filters and cleaning I've done. I apologize to everyone that it's not crisper, but I think we're going to be changing our platform provider, Joe. I did though order some wireless lapel microphones for us to use at our next show. So we and our guests will no longer have to yell at a microphone. So
that's awesome, man. There were a couple of people I met at the show. Because I know that we're trying to figure out how to aggregate all the viewership in one place so that everybody sees, more accurately, how many people are live and how many people are listening after. And, I don't have those answers yet. But there's got to be an easier way to integrate it all into one thing, I think. And
look, at the end of the day, it's a matter of platform. So trying to put it all together is pretty tough, but we'll do the best we can with it. So
absolutely.
All right, so why don't we quickly though, you and I kind of talk through the show itself. Frankly, I had a great time. It was very Phantom-esque. So, it had quite a bit going on related to Phantom. It's Harry. I found out how to say his name, by the way. I did listen to his keynote at the end of the day on Friday, by the way, Joe. Harry Ye's keynote.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about that in Twitter, about Tomb, and I didn't really watch it, but now people aren't super happy.
Yeah, no, people are not fucking happy. All the dudes who played the Tomb game are actually pretty pissed at this point. And, it's kind of hard to blame them because the entire game was changed on them, and that makes it really tough to, for people to trust him, which, I guess that shouldn't be surprising at this point.
Yeah, but look, the rest of the guys, the Phantom Foundation guys, I missed a little bit of what you said because I was dumping the VPN, but those guys are just spot on right now. And, I like the energy, now it's just execution at this point, a roadmap for them. So,
yeah. Look, I think at the end of the day, if you're going to invest in something Harry Ye's doing, you need to understand that Harry Ye builds for Harry Ye. He doesn't build for anybody fucking else. Shizzy says Harry Ye is a parasite just like Tomb was. Yeah. Look, there's nothing wrong with climbing into these protocols if you want to play that game, right? If you know the rules and you want to play the game, go for it. But my impression has been that Harry changes the rules for Harry. And so I would just be careful. And I will tell you that, after his presentation on Friday, there are a lot of very pissed off Harry Ye fans who were big into Tomb, who now feel like they've been fucked over because he's starting these new projects. And he's starting a layer 2, and then he's going to start a layer 1 that's going to be for this Project Life, and blah, 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 blah. He just never, he never stops. It's never enough for him. But anyway, this was his show, by the way. Quantum is his company. Mm-hmm. So I guess he did give us free tickets for being press. There's that. Yeah,
we can't. And plus the people around, like the PR team he had there, the food, the catering. I thought all of that was top notch myself.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. Met some great people. A couple, I met Alma there, and she's in the comment page. She's doing a lot of cool projects, a lot of NFT stuff that I won't, dox on her about, because I know it's QT time on that. But, definitely someone to watch. And she introduced us to other people too. Some will be coming on the show at different times. So we also met the meta intro guys there. They're coming on the show. So, it's just a really, really good time.
It was a great event. Great event. I was totally impressed with Michael Kong, the CEO of Phantom. His presentation was literally one of the very best technical presentations I've ever seen. It is not easy to do a tech presentation, very tech heavy, about where Phantom's going as a blockchain, and make it digestible for everyone in the room, from the most technical to the most novice non-tech person. And this was the absolute best delivery that I've seen in a very, very long time of technical topic. It's on my Twitter feed, his entire thing about FVM. And then I've got the video for the entire presentation he did, which also talked about a bunch of other things related to Phantom. I've also got Andre's video, both video presentations. I'm going to try to compile a video of highlights from the show. But I definitely, if you're interested in Phantom at all, I definitely recommend going to watch Michael's speech. If you're ever planning to have to do presentations for your startup, go watch Michael's speech if you have technical content in it. Because I was extremely excited after hearing about FVM, the data, the test results, what's going to happen with it, all of that. Now, on another note, Justin Fournier and I are in the Telegram and had a rather deep exchange of views on Phantom. And I think it's only fair that everyone go there. You're welcome to weigh in. I think we kept it under control for the most part, although you could tell both of us were highly annoyed with the other person. And we had a discussion about Phantom and a comparison to Hedera and ethics and what is and isn't right and wrong, what is and isn't crypto. I would encourage everybody listening to dive into the Telegram if you haven't yet. Check out the Phantom channel and, give us your thoughts or not. I'm no longer commenting on the topic because I spent way too much of my life commenting on that topic in our Telegram, but everyone else is welcome to climb into that discussion. So let's see what else. So, we did an interview with Charlie Shrem. You want me to post that up now, Joe? You want to watch it?
Yeah, let's play it. Yeah, great guy. I mean, really enjoyed meeting him and chatting with him. And
Charlie is an original OG Bitcoiner. Built one of the first exchanges, BitInstant, 11 years ago. Got arrested for essentially not having a money changer license, but there were all kind of intimations that Silk Road people were laundering money through his exchange, et cetera, et cetera.
Can I comment on that just for a second, real quick?
Sure.
I dug deep into that, and the whole accusation revolved around somebody giving him $1 million in cash to convert to BTC and send it into Silk Road. I didn't see any examples of him doing anything inappropriate there. It was just facilitating that money in. So, I think they made an example of him. And, but compared to the stuff that we see today, I mean, it's like, I don't want to say it was nothing, but, compared to what we see today, it was nothing. and
Yeah.
he pled out, did his time, and he's out. So
Served
it
a
wasn't
year
a
in
long
prison.
time.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so me, I always believe everybody deserves a second chance, but it's not like he did anything horrific to people or anything. It was a technical thing.
And he's a genuinely good guy. I mean, he's a
Yes.
genuinely good person who is always giving back to the community. He's now doing VC work and traveling the country or the world with his wife, who's an actress. And it was really interesting. He's working on a book. We talk about that a little bit. But again, I just want to give the caveat to everyone that I thought it was our microphone, but it looks like it was StreamYard having some connectivity issues. It may have been the Wi-Fi at the show that caused the problem. But half of the video I had to heavily edit and filter to take out really nasty chopping buzzing sounds. So be forewarned before I play this, but we'll play this up right now, Joe.
Cool.
Hold on, let me present it. Video.
Yeah, and
file.
listeners, the name of his fund is Druid Ventures, which you'll see was also the lead investor for Meta Intro. And I think Lacey's coming on next Monday, right? So,
yeah.
So I talked.
All right. So,
sorry. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I talked to him. So, about what he thought about BTC DeFi and other things around that. And, he said, send stuff over. So if anybody wants their stuff sent over, let me know and I'll hook you up.
Great. Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
We have a legendary guest with us today, Charlie Shrem, also probably one of the most liked people in the space.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, you can't say your name without people smiling. So that's a really positive thing, right? You have your own show. What's the show called again?
It's called The Charlie Shrem Show by Untold Stories.
Nice. And you're here speaking today at Quantum Miami, but you are originally a Bitcoin legend. You were early building a business in the space.
Yeah.
Some would say you got a little bit shafted by the government in regards to that business you were building, and you made some mistakes in that regard. But you've come out of that. You went through all that pain and suffering, and now you're rolling again in this space. So what, I'm kind of curious from somebody who kind of came from that world, the Bitcoin world and the beginning stages world where it was much harder to do anything. Kind of what's your take on what's going on now? Are you like, you consider yourself still a Bitcoiner, a Bitcoin maximalist?
You remember that famous Kennedy, Ich bin ein Berliner?
Yeah.
Ich bin ein Bitcoin.
Not forever.
We are all Bitcoiners at work. The tenets of what got me into Bitcoin and what got all of us into whatever crypto it was that we first got into.
Yep.
There's tenets to that and pillars. And to me, what it means to be a Bitcoiner is that hard money, the ability to have an asset or data or information that no one can remove or to pull back away from you, be able to publish something like even this show without fear that it has to pass through some data source or a government that can shut you down or where you're fear of doing it. Or if you wanted to collect donations or take money and do it at the same time, if you wanted to be a worker somewhere in Afghanistan and write computer code, and you wanted to be able to publish that, how do you do that? Do you want to publish a blog and you're in Syria? If you're in Argentina or Cyprus and the government's taking your money because they were fiscally irresponsible. That's what Bitcoin was for you. Crypto got all of us involved from Steemit and blogging, to be able to have information and data where it wasn't reversed. All these things, what it means to be a Bitcoiner, it's still there. We're still excited. It gets me up every day. It makes me excited to want to work and be in this space. But it's true. It's been watered down. It's been lost. Every bull market makes people forget. We get focused on the prices. I'm guilty of that.
Sure.
But thankfully for the bear markets, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, look, I think the bear markets resets all of our mindset. I mean, everyone talks about the guys that are still building the bear markets. That's the true thing. And I truly believe that. But I also think it kind of also resets our reality check and lets us all kind of say, wait, why did we get this? Exactly kind of the ethos we're talking about right now. It's like, it's about freedom. It's about the freedom of money, the freedom to act, the freedom to communicate. And I think it makes a ton of sense. Are you actively engaged in stuff outside of Bitcoin?
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
projects?
Absolutely. Okay. And this core, this decentralization maximalism that I kind of have and I've been adapting. So I work for a VC fund. I started a small stage.
Awesome.
I love doing startups. I built one, back in 2011, I had the BitInstant, one of the earlier Bitcoin exchanges back then. But I like starting companies and being at the helm myself, but I like also helping CEOs and helping people start companies and avoid those red flags that I made.
Yeah.
And so I'm part of a VC fund, Druid Ventures. We invest in early stage, like Series A, but mostly seed companies, small check sizes, like $200,000 is our check size. We're very involved. We've made 10 investments in the bear market so far.
Wow.
Just getting involved. And the thing is, like, when a company passes the first step test, they bring me into the room. They're like, all right, Charlie, get them.
So you're like the startup shredder.
Great. When I like very polite and I listen to everything and I ask questions, but my goal is to like find a problem that I know we could fix, and then we'll invest in that company and then help them.
That's awesome.
It's
Well,
a lot
look,
of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I see why they do that, dude.
Yeah.
Because you went through trial by fire building a startup. I mean, you built a startup that was successful and growing rapidly in a space that nobody understood at all. Like, I mean, at least now we have the benefit of people having some concept of what's happening here. At the time you built a Bitcoin startup, nobody even knew what the hell Bitcoin was.
Yeah.
It was a core group of cyberpunks and libertarians. And that was it. That's all you had.
If you could like avoid the conversation of like what back then, like opening up a bank account for your business, for yourself personally, or like explaining to your family members what you did. We would talk about the business outside. So it's like, hey, how does company been instant? We're selling this thing that people want to buy for a little bit extra than we paid for it. They're like, but why? What are they doing? Why are they buying this? What is, like, we sell airline miles, but why? You can't fly anywhere with it. Well, you can go in some chat rooms and buy, like pocket knives or something. But why? Well, and so like back then, most people would get Bitcoin for free from like a faucet. We talked about it in the talk. It was free, but there was a point for me, at least, when like there just wasn't enough coming out of the faucet. I wanted more.
Right.
I wanted more. And this was actually something I learned about the economy, that economies are not judged based on like the value of the products or the services within it, but it's the velocity of money. It's how fast is money changing hands.
Right.
So in the early days of Bitcoin forums, all we did was it was chatting about this Bitcoin thing. Eventually it evolved into like, there were faucets where you could give them away. And now that people had them, he wanted to spend them. So people would just go on and post their own service. Like, I'll make you a logo. I'll knit socks for you. Things that were like people had value to them, but they were maybe doing already. I had an electronics, like a little daily deal site, daily checkout.
Right.
And so what I did for Bitcoin was I took the products that no one really wanted, and I put them on the Bitcoin forum for Bitcoin. I would sell like digital cameras. I would go on Craigslist and buy JetBlue vouchers and then just resell them on the Bitcoin forums because I wanted more Bitcoin. I wanted to be part of that velocity of money. This was my friend group. These were my friends, my family. I met my wife through Bitcoin. Like this was everything we did. So I just wanted to be part of that. And that's why I started Instinct, because I wanted to I felt like almost like a rent seeker, and I felt like I was just taking and I wasn't giving back. So it's like, let me start a company to give back to the cryptos, to the Bitcoin space. And that's where business. And that's why I wanted to start the Bitcoin Foundation, was I wanted to give back more, do conferences like that.
There is this unending desire of kind of the true believers of ethos to constantly give back. And it's powerful and important. In the startups you're seeing, are you guys investing in DeFi related things, Bitcoin related things? It's a mix of startups, regular tech startups as well.
We're kind of looking at the angle of the picks and shovels play. Okay. So I feel like we don't know where this whole industry is going to end up. We don't know what chains, what blockchains. We don't even know the use cases for half of this shit.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is we need to build out the technology still. We need to build out all of the different utilities and different, I'm going to say different things like mortgage servicing on chains, illiquid lending. You could do all the financial stuff. You could do all the other tech stuff. You could build the NFTs. So here's an example. We don't invest in companies issuing NFTs,
right?
But if you have a business where you build a mechanism in which anyone can come and mint their own NFTs and have, systems built in where they can engage with their NFT holders, we invest in it.
That's awesome. Historically the shovels, pickaxes, places where you make the most money.
You make the most money. They're the hardest to pick. No pun intended. They're the hardest to choose because they're not businesses that have consumer ready products now.
Right.
It's easy to invest in Scotch tape.
Yeah.
It's easy to invest in things that we use because we already know their utility and value. We use them every day. Shit, someone said, yeah, invest in every product you use. Well, by that point, every hedge fund under the sun is invested in it. So what is it for me?
Right.
But I know those plays. Like I know how to, or try to know how to like foresee where what it will be. So I try to.
Are you getting a lot of deal flow from your network of connections that bring in startups into the space? Something you don't even want to deal with.
Yes, I do. I get a lot of deal flow from, we've invested. I had someone in where we live in Florida, someone who works for like a landscaping company pitch me something.
Oh
my heart is there. If you're in Bitcoin and crypto, I will listen to everything.
That's amazing.
I will stop what I'm doing.
That's all you're ever going to be able to do.
Exactly. All I'm ever going to be able to do is I might as well embrace it. I'm never going to be able to do something else.
So no time at all.
I've had
Especially
people
your pitching.
pitch me on Twitter. We've invested in companies. Oh my God. There's no bad way to pitch someone.
That's awesome. I love the landscaping story. That's beautiful.
Yeah, we get a lot of deal flow too. So
Yeah.
interesting, cool people. So
Yeah, it's a
just
lot of
fly
fun.
your way as well.
We get our, like, the guy who fixes our sprinklers whenever he comes over. The security guy.
Really?
Yeah. He's always like, all right, I'll come fix your alarm or your security cameras. But we made a deal. He's like, he prepares very complicated questions, like long-winded, like essay thesis ready questions. And he comes over and we spend we did two a month. And he comes over and we sit and he's kept fast, like brain. And he's like, I understand this. It's like, I get this and I'm going out there. Like what he does is he tries to solve his own problems and he goes out there looking for the solutions. And
Right.
And he's
If
stuck.
he can't find it, he comes to
And
you.
then he tries to stop me and we figure it out together. But he's so smart. And I love people like that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And yeah, the fun thing is somebody might dismiss the security guy, somebody could never get it. And what we have found is that startup founders and technical people and investors come from every walk of life. We discount where their role is in life and their job at our peril, I think.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Well, some of the people that invest on the show, I mean, it's like post guy on the outback of Australia or something like that.
We have a guy who's
listening.
It's a guy who's a total beachhead investor. He's in our community. He's a motorcycle postal man in Australia. So I envisioned him out in the output delivering mail. He says he listens to the show every day.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool? It's like crazy. It's crazy.
I still have like big imposter syndrome when people come over and tell me I listened to your show or like I listened to that
Yeah.
or whatever. I still don't. The numbers tell me people are listening, but I still have this like thing that like no one's on the other side of this.
Yeah, it's
Like,
weird.
it's weird.
It's so weird. Well, we have a daily engagement with our, like this one isn't live. We have a daily live show. And so we have people asking us questions and talking.
We gotta do that.
It's actually, you know what is great about it is it reduces burnout because I feel, and sometimes you feel like, oh my God, am I going to do another daily show? And this, I don't know why we're going down this track for an interview, but whatever.
No, I get it. I get it.
But when I know that those people are going to be there to ask questions, to participate, to add value to the show, it makes all the motivation you need. Pretty basic.
And feedback makes you feel validated. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes you feel like you're contributing to something more than just ourselves.
Yeah.
That's fun too. And we talk about this frequently. A lot of the younger guys, when they're asking questions, I'm like, I'm just amazed that they're actually listening to us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that is something.
The other day we were both in an interview. Somebody from this community was like, dude, you're so fucking old. And I was like, and so I laughed and said, Joey's talking about you. And then at the end of the interview, the guy's like, damn, they really know what they're talking about. And it's like, you know what? Just because we're old doesn't mean we don't understand this.
No, it's
Crazy.
The older you are, the wiser you are, the more you learn about the world and stuff like that. So,
What's next for you? The 4 pitches.
more pitches. Yeah. I love being an investor. I'm really going to focus on the book this year a lot.
Oh, good.
Last year, I shadowed my wife. She's an actor. So I
Oh, nice.
shadowed her. I worked from set, like a bunch of different sets. I podcasted. We spent the last year and a half just traveling around the world. So I'm really enjoying doing that. She's starting a movie next week too. So we want to figure out a way how to combine the crypto and film industry somehow. It's hard, but also I want to finish my book this year. I need to write because I'm forgetting it.
Now, is this like a autobiography book?
I started writing this book when I got into. I started writing this
Wow.
book over 10 years ago.
Holy crap.
It's just been so far it's 137 pages of like start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. I have a good segments of like 60, 70 pages of full through reading. I have a point where I hired a ghostwriter, so the writing's changed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a point where I was it's just a big amalgamation. I need to just finish it this year.
Damn.
I'm getting time.
Yeah, that's hard. You know, I've got a couple of those that I go back to every like 3 months and wish I had like actually taken the block of time in my life. You know, life happens.
Yeah. And it's tough though, because you're trying to put something out there and, you know, the times change and time goes by and all of a sudden you're writing about something that's a little bit new with different nuance. And then you're going back to the beginning and go, well, that doesn't really make sense now. And so how do I bring this idea forward? And
Yeah, how do you bring those days? I like that's what I want to do. The book takes place between like the end of 2010 till about early 2014, and then I'm not going to write anymore after that. It's been well documented what happened. 2014, 2015 were like the watershed moments of our industry, but before then, there's almost nothing in existence,
Right.
and that's when really.
No, I think that's going to be an
Yeah.
awesome story.
I hope
I'll
I
definitely
get
read
finish
it.
That's great. Well, congratulations, man. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for
Thanks for
taking time out.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you
Appreciate
being here.
Congratulations, what you guys do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And thanks for doing everything you do for the industry. Seriously. I mean, I know you're constantly giving. I know your show is all about telling the stories of crypto and what's going on, what happened to Bitcoin. I listen to a ton of episodes and I always learn something about what people have done and why they have done it. And it's amazing.
If you guys weren't doing your show, most people would have to focus on mainstream media. We are the last independent.
That's right.
This is it. Like people like, this is where you're getting the real information. There's no bias here.
Yep.
You know, everything out that door, all the other mainstream media out that door, someone's paying their salaries. There's a bias there. And so we're the only one that's left.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the opportunity, right? I think we're the ones that can do it. Fantastic. Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate it
thank
so
you
much.
again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, this is a super genuine guy.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
very cool.
Yeah. Just wish their
Yeah, it
sound had
wasn't-
been decent.
Yeah, well, the frame, I mean, yeah, it was a little tough to listen to, but it wasn't like you couldn't hear it.
Yeah, no, but you should. If you had heard it before, you would have been like, "What the fuck?" Like it just was.
Well, I know, man. It's that Apple gear. You just gotta
That's
like
it.
upgrade,
It's the
man.
Apple gear. I need to downgrade to Joe gear.
Hey, you know, I can do 8K on my phone.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, for recording and streaming, but of course it's limited, I guess, by whatever signal you have. So I don't know what
Wow.
you can do on the iPad. You got to be able to do 8K on that thing.
Oh no,
Right?
iPad can. Yeah, and this is a new one. So iPad can definitely do higher resolution.
Yeah, you just got to go into the video thing, and then, well, I'm just talking Android-y stuff, but there's always like 6 buttons in there to push. I mean, I don't even
Yeah.
know how half these things work. I'm
Well-
always learning new things, so it's cool.
Yeah, well, part of it is when Sean's doing the charts, we need to make sure his resolution's high enough to have them come across clear. But like I said, I'm gonna shift us over to Riverside, bite the bullet, and spend the money because it's a far superior system for getting audio and video. So it'll be much.
Does it
better.
allow us to deploy everything onto YouTube?
Yeah, it does everything that this does.
But so how do we get it to where everybody's watching the same stream no matter what platform they're on, so that it shows like aggregate when people are watching, like aggregate viewers?
You can't.
Just can't do that anywhere. Okay.
No. We can't pull in podcast feed, YouTube feed, Twitter feed, etc. I mean, you could theoretically write to the APIs and do it ourselves, but I'm not going there. So, all right. So that was interesting. Anyway, great guy. He's working on cool shit. If you have a project, you should pitch him. Thank you, Alma. Alma said fantastic interview, and she said she does everything on the iPad. I do when I'm traveling or at a show. It's great. But anyway, I thought that was fascinating. I thought what he's doing is interesting. I love that the guy found a life after prison and is having a good one and continuing to build and grow in the system. Now, I think Sean is probably a little disappointed in him because he is is a no
VC?
longer a maxi and is dealing in shitcoinery. But you know, some people find a different path, I guess.
But he still no. But I remember in the interview he said that, you know, he basically said, of course, BTC is still the one, you know, the one true one, and everything else comes after. But I like his sort of evangelizing for the ecosystem. So just like he did for BTC, he's trying to include other aspects of the crypto markets too. You know, rising tide lifts all boats kind of stuff. So I think it's cool myself. You know, I'm sure Sean thinks it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Sean, speaking of Sean, in the Telegram channel, somebody challenged Sean to try DeFi. And so he's going to do that between now and Friday. And I suggested just a minute ago that he try out liquidity and chicken bonds. So I think those are two things that, you know, have a fairly strong basis. They're both radically decentralized, et cetera, et cetera. I like the teams there. So I'm also need to pick a DEX for him because he's never used a DEX. But I think what's going to be interesting here is not only what he feels about those projects, but actually what the UI what the user experience is like for him, right? I mean, this is a whole. I mean, he knows how to use a wallet, so that's good. And you know, he's got a wallet set up and all that. But it's going to be really interesting to see conceptually how well Liquidity and Chicken Bonds have done presenting what they offer to him. So I want to see what he comes back with. She said, I think he would like Balancer and Beats. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what? I'll send him Balancer just for shits and giggles as well. So I think that would be a good one as well.
What about, I can't remember, what chain is Liquidity on? Is it Polygon or
ETH?
Oh, it's on ETH. Okay. Yeah. So, because I was wondering, that's the easy one to start with, because you know, I doubt if he's got a bunch of RPC nodes in his wallet, so to speak, to hit.
Yeah, I think he should probably stay with layer one on that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, absolutely. Niblet says, "Listen, haste makes waste. Just had test wallet drained on TrustPad regarding airdrop for a high risk token. Even those who know better screw up." Oh yeah, that sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Eamon says, no way Sean has to try Sovereign. Keep it in the Bitcoin. Yeah, I want to subject him to a little bit of ETH transactional shit too. So we'll get him on Sovereign, and he could try some stacks as well, I guess, later. At least that's Bitcoin based. So
one of those he doesn't particularly like, though, if I remember correct. It's whichever one's got a lot of the big VC funding, and
that's Stacks. And Stacks has a lot of shit coins. Like every project has a coin. Stacks is basically a side chain to Bitcoin that's like Ethereum, you know?
Okay.
So, you know. Let's see what else. Oh, you know what? I've decided I'm going to do a deeper dive on this just to understand better. I realized I interviewed at the show I interviewed one of the executives at Ripple. Mm-hmm. And I felt like after that interview that, you know, I'm not saying that Ripple is going to be a project I'm interested in, that I'm investing in. But I have my bias for Ripple has come from a couple of things. First of all, the supporters in the community that are so rabid. And the general community attitude about Ripple outside of that community, right? That it's sold out, blah, 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 enterprise, kind of like the Hedera stuff. So, but I've never actually taken any dive into it. Shizzy says Ripple makes me sick to my stomach. But I realize that I have always just taken the negative that other people said about it, and I've never actually done any work to investigate it, like zero. So I'm going to take a little bit deeper dive. This was a nice guy. This is what was his name? Bradley.
He was head of Bradley.
Yeah.
Yeah, head of engineering of some aspect there. Yeah.
Yeah, one of he runs with there's two major projects at Ripple. He runs one of them. But anyway, you guys, it's just a few quick questions. We'll run this video real quick, Joe.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah,
So it's Bradley Chase, Senior Director of Engineering. Got it? Okay. All right. All right. I am here with Bradley Chase, Senior Director of Engineering at Ripple. And I think most of the folks that watch our show actually aren't completely aware of what you guys are up to. So I think it'd be really cool to kind of hear what you guys are building, why, and who your target markets are, that kind of thing, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
So Ripple, we're 10 years old, but consider ourselves a startup, which we're allowed to do.
Sure.
And we're about bringing blockchain technology, digital asset technologies to enterprise. So
Okay.
our customers are not consumers,
Right.
they're banks, fintechs, corporates, and whatnot. And kind of our two flagship products, one is flagship, one is one I'm launching, so I'll have to
nice.
talk about it with the team. First one is on-demand liquidity. So it's a cross-border payments product that lets our customers send FX cross-border
Nice.
using the power of blockchain to settle that instantly, kind of very low-cost, cheap, transparent. They don't have to pre-fund in those destination countries. So it's really those enterprise customers that are getting the benefit of blockchain technology.
So essentially replacing the existing kind of transfer systems they use now, which are faxes and CSV files.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
It's kind of really bringing that modern technology before. And then the new product that we've been launching last year was called Liquidity Hub. So in order to build that cross-border payments product, we had to build a liquidity engine under the hood.
Right.
Tap into liquidity of the exchanges, manage the flows. We're now packaging that up so that our same enterprise customers that want to offer crypto-first offerings in their business
Right.
can leverage that. So they don't have to go deal with the fragmented exchange landscape, deal with all the challenges of managing flows.
Yeah.
They can leverage the technology that we built.
All straight in. So all the liquidity comes from them or other liquidity providers, but within your system.
Right, exactly.
What's it like? I mean, from the perspective, I know you're on the engineering side, but from the expectation of kind of what your existing first level enterprise customers, who's accepting, like who's willing to go down this road right now?
Yeah, so we do have banking customers of ours that
Good.
are in this. Kind of more of our kind of traction are kind of from those challenger banks or kind of remittance companies, kind of payment service providers and whatnot, where
Right.
they're seeing the utility of this in their business. They are saving money by
Sure.
doing this. And so they're the ones that are increasingly willing to lean into crypto as part of that flow and be more explicit. A lot of them are international, where there's more clarity than the U.S. on
Nice.
being able to use that crypto and being flow funds. But increasingly, that institutional adoption is here for us.
That's great. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
And when you guys are deploying solutions like this, are they typically kind of like a lot of professional services on the front end? So you're having to like customize to integrate into their systems? Are they just using the panels or controls or user interface that you're giving them, or what?
So no, so often it's kind of integrated within their systems. So we're providing systems that let them manage it.
Right.
We do have a lot of kind of hands-on services. As an enterprise customer, they expect a lot of care into
Sure.
getting those integrations. And of course, early on in the build, we need that ourselves to learn what's working and not working.
Right.
But yeah, increasingly, especially with Liquidity, it's API first, kind of very much kind of scalable, where we don't always have to be in the room.
Right.
And that's actually a benefit for them because they want to control that customer experience with their customer.
Sure.
And so it's that balance.
Now, do you guys expect that down the line, kind of you building these core infrastructure pieces for them that are blockchain based, that you can then start introducing other products in
Absolutely.
kind of what we see in the traditional DeFi landscape or whatever into these institutions?
Yeah, so we kind of think of they're the experts in their last mile customer thing that they're trying to solve.
Right.
We can help solve the crypto element for them where it helps.
Nice.
And so yeah, you start with maybe one area that's cross-border, then we have Liquidity Hub,
Yeah.
and we look to see other services that we can provide for them.
Yeah, it's funny because I often talk about the fact that the companies, folks in the DeFi space like to treat some folks as native and not as other native. And I find it interesting because what I often say on my show is, you can deride or not pay attention to a lot of these folks, but they're actually building the connections that's the next wave. And so I think it's really interesting that you're out there 10 years now building connections, signing up customers, integrating into the banking and traditional finance system, and you're going to be the gateway. You'll be the guys who are connected into it. So I think that's fascinating. You've been there 6 years, so what was your background prior?
I worked in the high-frequency trading industry.
Okay,
for,
very nice.
About 10 years, and then for that PhD, ironically, in quantum physics.
Oh, really? Very interesting.
My-
Oh,
yeah.
holy crap. That's a really interesting background, man. I need to get you on for a longer interview at some point. That's great. Well, I really appreciate it. Anything else coming from you guys that we should know about?
No, I think that's a big thing. Just keep seeing us kind of go for those use cases, solve for the enterprise, and kind of continue to find other places that we can do that.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take a closer look at you guys. Appreciate
Awesome.
it. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Have a good one. All right, Joe. You're muted. I can't unmute you.
I think as some of the comments, what, it's always been a centralized play, but it's always been about the remittances. And so, I think its infrastructure behind the scenes is like plumbing and sewage and all of that is where it goes. I don't think it's ever like going to be the super exciting stuff that we like to look at, but nevertheless, it is part of the foundation of, sort of the remittance system. And, like Stellar was and all those there is, I think Cardano even talks that up, but it was that in that wave of those groups, Tron, not quite as sophisticated as the other three, but it's not deep, like you said, since DeFi summer and all, it fed off of the decentralization ethos, none of those really fit with what we're looking at on the edge, but I think they're all still necessary in what they do for those enterprise markets because they speak that language, whereas we don't.
Right. Well, here's the point, that I was trying to make there at the end is that, we can make fun of Cardano, Ripple, Algorand, all of these projects, but they don't care. And here's why they don't care. Because the Ripple already has 10 years of relationship building with banks, traditional finance, institutions, the entire financial infrastructure. And what I was asking him there was, do you expect to start adding in and plugging in other functionality that those banks can use with their customers? And the answer was yes. So while we may all be out here making fun of them, you're not cool enough, you're not part of us, you're not decentralized enough, those guys are going to be the representatives of crypto to normal people's fintech and banking applications. And so we need to get a lot better about building those relationships, especially the bigger players in the actual decentralized space like Aave and those folks who are actually trying to build those relationships now, because those guys are going to own it all. So that is definitely something that we should be concerned about or thinking about, is that when you have the gateway to the money, you have the gateway to get what gets to people. And people won't know that there's something different out there that they could get. So,
well, but also at the same time, it's not just them in that model. There's also, what's not central bank coins, but, company stables that'll play in that space along with, whatever Stellar's doing with. Yeah, they're all going to play there. So, I think it's just going to be kind of enhancing the existing banking system's ability to either generate more margin or lower fees, which I suspect will be the former rather than the latter. But nevertheless, you're right. It is part of it. But it's not, it's not the stuff that we like to focus on. But I was curious, I think where you're trying to go with it is that, when institutional DeFi comes around and they start playing in that space, it's a nice pairing with other things because there'll be so much market pricing mechanisms out there in like traditional markets that it'll be easier to do things with it than say, or they'll trust it more than say others. But again, like some of the commenters, what's the difference between that and USDC fitting in that or
USDC, but here's my point. If you build the infrastructure to the banks for crypto, they start using it for remittances. And then you have the liquidity book. And then you can use other tokens within that whole mess. When the banks are ready to start selling crypto to their customers in the Bank of America interface or in the Wells Fargo interface or whatever bank you use, what's the first project they're going to go to? They're going to go to the one that's already integrated with their banking system, right? When they want to sell crypto to customers, they're going to go to Ripple. And they don't necessarily know that Ripple isn't decentralized enough, right? They don't know any of that. All they know is their customers are saying, how can I buy Bitcoin? And how can I buy whatever? And Ripple will be the infrastructure player already in place for that play. And so that's kind of my point is when we all make fun of Cardano and Ripple and all of these other players that we don't like, they're out building relationships with the existing financial system that can usurp what we're building over here. And so that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if usurp's a pretty strong word. I think that, look, if we build a better mousetrap, then we win, because then they adopt the best of that mousetrap. I don't know if Ripple goes beyond what it is today, other than just a remittance token, but we don't know what's coming next. So I think maybe it's that, do the banks win on this, or do we really create a system that's outside of that's decentralized? I argue that it could be both, but I don't think that,
both.
I don't think the banks take it over like that. I think that they absorb this type of tech.
Yeah, when I use the word usurp, I mean that the banks will be have the opportunity to be the first connection to crypto for majority of the population that has a bank account. And so if that is a path they go down, because they've already been approved now for crypto holdings for customers, if that's a path they go down, the most likely provider to provide that to you is the one you already have integrated in your systems. So if you already have Ripple integrated in your systems, or you've already done something with Cardano, or you've already done something with somebody else, when you decide to start selling your customers crypto and offering crypto related products, you're probably going to go first to the company that you're already integrated with. That's not definitive, and that's not to say that DeFi loses. My only point is the members of this community and the bigger projects in the space have to be aggressive with going after fintech, going after banks, and trying to build relationships with them if they want those customers. Because otherwise we end up with this longer, much higher learning curve for the average person, right? So
yeah, I just skip to the end. Yeah.
Ripple also has to compete with Corda from R3, which is the banking cartel chain. It's being used for settlements on the token exchange for the London Stock Exchange. Interesting. I don't know anything about
that. Yeah.
Check it out. The SEC case has not been concluded. Garlinghouse announced he thinks it'll be done, I think, second quarter of this year. So by June, I guess. That there should be some conclusion to it, but I don't know. Shizzy says, why use XRP over BTC Lightning? I just don't get it. Because it seemed safer and more stable and less volatile.
But that's a good point, because look, the banks are all moving to do custody for BTC, or some of their offshoots are, or their side entities. So, Lightning probably is a lot of competition to Ripple at this point, beyond just remittances. Maybe they already.
Not yet. Ripple can't handle the capacity of a banking transfer to.
You mean the other Lightning?
Size.
You mean Lightning?
I mean Lightning.
Lightning. Yeah.
Lightning can't handle size, right? But Bitcoin could. And banks don't care about it taking half a second versus half an hour. They could give a shit.
Good point. Yeah,
you're right. Anyway, my whole point is just that if we want those customers and want to be first to them, should be working on ways to integrate that shit. So
I love it because you're right. We do ignore all this stuff, particularly all of us that want to hoist the pirate flag. We tend to ignore what goes on over there, but it's something to stay on top of. Doesn't mean you have to buy it or own it. I don't know where what happens to token stuff, but probably more this. But it's not going to have the fun of the other ones.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Anything's good, I guess. If it gets banking more to looking at other aspects of crypto. But hey, they're still standing. And the one point that you didn't say that of course the PR guy there, we had to get this interview approved at like 4 layers on the fly. But it's what they're that they are fighting for us in the litigation arena. So that would give a lot of cover for a lot of projects that we know and a lot of other principles. So, you have to take that as being something positive. And it's not just, if they weren't fighting it, trying to define things, then, I think it could be harsher. But the fact that they are doing that will have positive effects for the rest of DeFi.
Yeah, here's and here's an example. The bank out of Wyoming, Custodia, supported by a lot of Bitcoin players, was rejected for denied a Federal Reserve System membership. They are a licensed bank in Wyoming, but they were denied access to the Federal Reserve banking system. And my buddy, one of the attorneys that I respect a great deal, Gabriel Shapiro, said, keep this in mind the next time you hear noise about preventing the next FTX. A bank like this would actually help prevent the next FTX. But it seems the powers that be want there to be more FTXs so that crypto is delegitimized. Protection is not the goal, which can tells you how pissed off he is for an attorney to post a tweet like that. So,
well, the important thing, look, this is when I don't know if you guys read it, when we're talking macro and, quantitative tightening and, Fed balance sheet accounts. What this specifically was, when you see all the 10 trillion or 9.5 trillion on the Fed balance sheet, where that really sits is in the custody accounts of all the banks. There's joint accounts from the banks that are in the Fed system. So this would have allowed them to be part of that, which means then they could draw down liquidity when, say, BTC price went down or something like that.
right.
So I think that's why it was rejected. But to Gabriel's point, that's what we need more of, because then we won't have institutions crashing when the volatility of Bitcoin pricing goes the wrong direction.
Exactly. So anyway, that was big news. Joe, I have a drop in 4 minutes. So you sent a couple of other articles. I mean, there's a lot going on this week with Fed and everything else.
Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff. But we can save all that for tomorrow.
Okay.
This was Niblets, Lightning versus Ripple, HT versus Blu-ray. And then this one, I thought, Eamon's comment. If utilization on Lightning went up and started generating fees for routers, we'd likely see a lot more BTC come onto the layer and would allow sizable transactions. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, right now it can't handle large transactions. I'm assuming that means because the capacity is based on the nodes and the amounts that are on the nodes being available. This week we've got guest on Thursday. Jerome from Cometh is joining us. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then we have the DeFi Adventures of Sean. I need a theme song for that episode. So
yeah, we'll have to think that one through.
Maybe the Pee Wee Herman. Maybe the Pee Wee Herman theme song would be good.
Or maybe some suggestions from our listeners.
Benny Hill. Benny Hill.
No. Come on, Monty Python.
Oh, Monty Python. How about every sperm is sacred?
Or East. What was that called? EastEnders. What was that one? That was really funny. Or Ab Fab. Any of those. There's got to be some soundtracks that we could use. That'll be funny. But great weekend, or great shows last week. Great weekend. I'm glad we got those clips up, and you did a great job, Brad.
Niblets,
and thanks. I had a lot of fun
too, buddy.
hanging with you.
Me too. I had a great time. Great to meet your daughter too, by the way. Exciting for her.
Yeah.
Congrats. Joe's daughter is getting into some nice schools because she's a big brain kid. So that's great. Congratulations to her. Niblets votes for Benny Hill.
There you go. Yeah, you remember all those? I remember watching all those. Like they would be on. I think it was on public TV or something like that.
Yeah, you could get some nudity. So when you were a teenager, back in those days when we didn't have the internet, that was like the
after the 7-Eleven, that was where you went.
Exactly. That and the Hustler magazine. That's all you had.
God, those were so bad though, man. I mean, I remember like I was like kind of the kid. Everybody had like, I mean, not my parents, but friends and stuff. There would be like penthouses or Playboys laying around, and they were just like semi, like bikini shots basically without the top of the bikini. And but then you saw Hustler, and that was just so raunchy. It was like scary.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, ooh. Yeah. But plenty of movies about Flint that are pretty interesting too.
All right, thank you, folks. We love and appreciate all of you for joining us, for taking part, for bearing with us, and adding to the conversation. Thank you, Niblets. Thank you, Alma. Thank you, Eamon. Thank you, Euphoric. Shizzy, thank you so much. We're glad you're here. Is that everybody today?
Mr. Muccioli
Mr. Muccioli's up here. Absolutely. I think I covered everybody. That's awesome. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. More to come this week. We got a lot lined up and a lot more coming. Joe and I made a lot of good connections last week at this show, and that should lead to some more guests and some interesting opportunities. So if you haven't joined the Telegram yet, you should be doing that. It's t.me/mission DeFi. Get in there, join the discussion, give us your thoughts and opinions. Anything goes. We'll create a new channel if we need another channel for discussion, but not anything goes, but be polite, don't shill, don't be an asshole. But please join us in Telegram if you haven't yet. It's slowly building up. We're excited to get to meet all these people that we had not met before, Joe. I know we talked about that quite a bit this weekend. So
yeah,
appreciate everybody. Thank you. If you like what we're doing, please just take 1 minute on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to give us a good review. It really helps boost us in the algorithm, and make sure you're subscribed. If you're watching on YouTube, Joe has a message for you. Smash the thumbs up.
Smash it.
He would like you to smash it. Smash the thumbs up while you're listening right now. Also, make sure you click the subscribe button and turn on the little bell, the alerts button, so you get notified when we have a new episode coming out. I got 2 episodes of Mission DeFi coming out this week. So
cool.
I'm also interviewing the founder of Akash, which we talked about a bit last week as well. I'm excited to hear what's the opportunities are for that project, because it looks pretty cool, especially the GPU capabilities they're about to launch. So thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Joe, you have a great evening.
You too, buddy. Thank you. Thanks to all the members, listeners. Really appreciate you guys. And it's just a lot of fun doing this.
Definitely.
Cheers.